What's up, everyone? This is John and Chelsea from Couple of Doctors. Thank you so much for taking the chance to watch this video. As it says in the title, we're going to be doing a Q&A. So we're going to be switching it up a little bit from the infertility, and this is going to allow you guys a chance to get to know us a little bit better. So follow us while we go about our day and we answer some questions.
All right, and please post questions below if you have them, and we'll answer them next time.
Yeah, this is going to be part 1, and we'll be doing a part 2 in the future.
Okay, so John is working out right now. Let's go ask him a question. What you doing?
Oh, just working out.
So, question and answer. What's your favorite part of our house?
Definitely this building, this room, this part of the house, the basement. It's my favorite part of the house.
Why?
Because it was nothing when we started. It was just empty, ugly walls. We finished it, painted the ceiling black, repainted the walls, got carpet, and built this part of the house, which is my workout room. I found all this stuff on Craigslist for super cheap. I had to sand down and repaint each and every single one of these weights because they were full of rust. And so I have like blood, sweat, and tears into each one of these weights. Nothing is more convenient than being able to work out in your own house. Just run down to the basement, have your workout clothes on, go right upstairs, have a protein shake when I'm done. This is it. I will always have a gym in my own house. I love it. All right, Chelsea, now tell me about your favorite part of the house.
Well, my favorite part of the house is the closet. When we first checked this house out, the things I enjoyed about it were the kitchen was redone, there's a master bathroom, and there's a walk-in closet. Unfortunately, I have to share this half with John. So in our next house, my goal is to have an even bigger closet so I don't have to have my shoes so stuffed together. You can better visualize them. But let's just say I like shoes. I have a decent sized wardrobe, but I'll make the next one bigger. Okay, so what is your hobby?
Well, besides working out, I probably spend the most amount of my free time working on the social media for my business. I hired a really awesome crew, and we really have a lot of fun with our marketing. And it's really something that I'm passionate about, is just making dentistry and dentists and orthodontists stupid peanut butter. Come on now. Alright, minor technical difficulty. Okay, so making dentists and orthodontists be more down to earth, and so we do a lot of really goofy and silly videos, and people tend to love them, so go check it out. I'll post a clip right now just to show you, give you a little taste of what we do.
A public service announcement from Alma Orthodontics. This is Dr. John.
Hey everyone, this is Dr. John from Alma Orthodontics, and we wanted to let our community, families, and patients know that we take your treatment very seriously. Everything from the bite, how it functions, and how it looks, we know you deserve the best, and that's why we handcraft your best smile. But we also know you like to be entertained, and that's why we like to have fun with our marketing.
Most of the time, our chairs get along nicely, but sometimes a chair may get unruly, and that's when Dr. John steps in and takes care of business.
There's a new sheriff in town. My name's Dr. John, and I don't like crooked people or crooked teeth. So tell me about your hobbies.
So my hobbies have changed a little bit over the past couple of years, but I've always enjoyed dancing. Dance has been my hobby since I was a little kid. I started dancing when I was 3 years old, I think, and I danced all the way up until I was 18, graduating high school. I also used to teach dance to little kids too, but once you go into college, there's not as many opportunities to dance, I guess. So now I kind of just dance for fun when we go out, weddings, clubs, whatever. My other hobby was Kung Fu. I really enjoyed doing Kung Fu. However, since we started this whole IVF process, I've been on those stimulation medications, and I've also been on those blood thinners these past 2 cycles. So I can't do Kung Fu because if something was to happen and I had like an ovarian torsion or started bleeding, it wouldn't be safe. So right now my hobbies are kind of more like sitting on the couch and reading books and spending way too much time on Facebook. But yeah, I always love to dance.
So you've been in school for 13 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
That is a long time. That's after high school. So what would you say is your favorite year and what is your least favorite year during those 13 years?
Well, that's a hard question. I don't know, there's a couple moments that I would say were probably like my favorite moments, but I don't know if it's like the full year altogether would be my favorite year. But throughout my education, like some of the best moments I would say is like that moment I got accepted into med school. Like I still remember I worked at a daycare at the time, and I came out of work and I was checking my email as I was walking to class, and I got an email that said like, you're accepted. And I remember just instantly breaking out into tears, like sobbing. And then I forwarded the email to John, we were dating at the time, and to my mom, and was like, please read this, make sure I'm not crazy. Did I really just get accepted to med school? That was probably one of the best moments. And then I think, I don't know, if we were gonna say best year, maybe my first year of residency.
Wasn't that when you were an intern though? And
Yeah.
you were working like 90 hours a week?
I mean, that's rough. I was working like 90 hours a week, and I was on call for 24 hours, like every 4 days. But it was the first year I was doing what my dream was. I was finally gonna be a pediatrician. I was doing everything it took to be a pediatrician. So to me, I think that year was also rewarding because I got to step foot into a pediatric hospital and know that my goals were coming true. So I'd say that was probably the best for me. The worst years were probably in college. Even though my residency, as John mentioned, was super tough, and I was not home much, did not sleep much, I still think it was rewarding in the long run. The hardest time for me was college. I went to class with John, some of the classes, and John, he's not gonna admit it, but he's a lot smarter than me, so he would study for maybe like 2 days for a test and then get like a 98% and be like, oh my god, I'm so mad, I got 2 questions wrong. And I would have studied for 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and I get like an 86%. So there were times when I thought like, I'm not getting into medical school. There's no way, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. Like, look how easy all this is for him and some of the other people in my classes. And I chose a major that wasn't easy. I was a molecular genetics and genomics major, which by the time I got to like the end of my degree, there were maybe 8 people in my classes because only 8 of us were dumb enough to choose that major. But I had like a backup plan because I was so like, there's no way I'm getting into medical school, that I chose that major thinking, okay, when I don't get into medical school, I could become a genetic counselor or I could work in research. So I think that was really hard on me because I was so hard on myself, and watching things come so much easier for John and some of our other friends than they did for me. Really, I kind of was setting myself up for failure. But the more important part is that even though I felt like this, I never gave up. I never threw in the towel. I never said, you know what, Chelsea, you're too dumb for this, and stopped. Even though I struggled every day, I just worked harder. I studied harder. I didn't hang out with my friends. I didn't go to the parties that John went to. I stayed home and I studied. And I got to where I am today. How about you? Do you have like a best year or worst year for your education? I feel like everything for you has kind of been like the same.
So my best year, and I'd have to agree with you, is the first year I started orthodontic residency, because that's when it was official. I was officially practicing my dream. I've always wanted to be a dentist, and an orthodontist to me was like that ultimate thing that I didn't think I was good enough to be able to do or reach. So it was always like, that was what I was hoping for, but I didn't want to set myself up for disappointment. And then when I officially got it and did it, and it was everything I knew it was going to be, it was just a dream come true, and being able to live that every single day. My worst year was my freshman. Oscar, what are you doing? Stop being bad.
He just wants to be the center of attention all the time. Come here.
Hey, come here.
Don't knock down our cheap camera stand.
Get. Go on, get.
Will you come up here?
So my worst year had to be my freshman year of college because.
Here.
You're so fat.
He's not fat. He's fluffy. Oh, now Luna's coming too.
Yeah, whatever. So freshman year of college, because that's when I moved away from home, I was not prepared at all for how to study in college versus how to study in high school. Like, I barely studied in high school. And then come to college and being like, this is such a different level of what I need to prepare for. Am I even going to be good enough to become a dentist? What am I doing with my life? And one of the, most memorable moments I ever have in life is it was before midterms of freshman year. And I didn't study at all because it was just so overwhelming. And I remember, like, what did you say?
And you still passed all of them.
I did, but this was like my first round of exams in a college setting, and I wasn't prepared enough. And my first exam was that next day. And I remember sitting there outside, like, contemplating life, just honestly sitting outside in some random tree, just at the stump, kind of just crying and being like, what's going on with my life? And then I remember I randomly got a phone call from my dad, and he put it, and I was just like explaining to him what was going on, what I was feeling, and in full sympathy, he was like, I can understand what you're going through. That's kind of what it was like for me going to Vietnam, being shipped away from home and not having any friends and having to go like do something you're not prepared for. And that just totally like shifted my mindset and me being like, what am I doing? Like, my dad had to go get drafted and fight a war. What am I complaining about? And so I actually didn't even sleep that night. I stayed up all night studying, and that's why I passed my exams. And then from that point on, I 4-pointed every single semester, because it just really opened up my eyes to, like, my life is not that bad compared to, my father's. So
yeah.
Time to buck up.
Yeah, I think that first year was also hard for us because we weren't together. I actually moved to Chicago for my first year of college. We had started dating like towards the end of high school, and at that time I had made this huge plan that I was going to go away to college because I was too cool to stay in Michigan. Like, I was going to go explore, and so I was in Chicago, so we were doing like a long distance relationship all at that same time.
Yeah, that was not easy. Taking the train to Chicago from East Lansing was convenient, but one time, true story, it's supposed to be like a 4-hour train ride. And when it works, it's the most convenient thing because you just take your bag, you get on the train, and you travel, you get off. I loved it. One time, coming home from Chicago, our train hit a person. They committed suicide by walking on the tracks and jumped in front of the train. And so that 4-hour train ride turned into an 11-hour train ride because we had to stop, wait, police had to come, ambulance had to come, they were cleaning up the scene, and it was not a fun experience. I think I didn't get home that night until like 3 o'clock in the morning, and that was Sunday night when I had exams the next day. So needless to say, I haven't been on the train since.
Wasn't that on your way to Chicago? Because wasn't I like waiting for you to come?
No, so the way there, and this was all on the same trip. It's the last time I ever took the train. On the way there, instead of 4 hours, it was 6 hours because freight trains have the right of way. And so us passengers, by the time we got close to Chicago, it was all the time that all the freight trains were coming in, so I got stuck waiting there.
Okay, that's what it was. Because I remember sitting in the train station waiting for you because I was picking you up, which I had to take the L to go get him. I didn't have a car when I was in Chicago because what's the point? So I took the L to the train station to come get him, and I was like, why is this taking so long? We only have like 2 days together, you know, and it was on the train for most of it. But that part is over. Hello!
Hello!
Q&A time!
Q&A time.
Q&A time!
Okay.
Alright, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
Well, I would have to say Croatia, because that's where my name is from, and I've heard it's beautiful and gorgeous, and we should go there and check it out.
Good answer.
What about you?
If I could go anywhere, I'd probably have to say Australia. Let's see. Mostly to check out the wildlife, because that's always been intriguing to me, but also because I like an Australian accent.
All right, Chelsea. Time to answer the question everyone wants to know. How do we first meet?
How did we first meet? Well, we have known each other since middle school, actually. I don't remember the exact moment I met you, but I know we met in middle school, we dated for like a week, and then he broke up with me to date a younger girl.
It was 2 weeks. Lane, I still remember.
Yeah, me too. I remember the day he broke up with me, his friends came over my house. They didn't know he broke up with me. And they asked me if I wanted to go for a ride with them. Back in that time, riding meant like on the pegs in the back of a bike. So I got on his friend's pegs and we rode to John's house, which I didn't know was where we were going. Super, super awkward because we broke up that day and still had to hang out. But even though we broke up, we then started dating again senior year of high school when we had, what was it, physics and advanced biology and advanced composition together. I had no idea that he was actually smart. Okay, John, do you want to tell him about our first date?
So, this all goes back to in high school, my parents owned a used car lot. So every week I had a different car to drive, which was a lot of fun. But this particular week, my dad brought home a monster truck from the auction. And when I say monster truck, it was super lifted, huge tires. It was an old Dodge pickup truck that I remember sitting in it, and we were higher than semis. So I remember asking Chelsea one day in physics if she wanted to go mud bogging. And she kind of looked at me weird, and she was like, I'll get back to you. Well, I guess later she went and asked her friends what that actually meant. And then the next day she said she'd love to go mud bogging. So I went, picked her up. We went down this old dirt road on a rainy day, went mud bogging, and then after that, we went to Applebee's, obviously the classiest place you can go for a first date. And it was pretty much history ever since. All right, last question of the evening while we're cooking some HelloFresh. So, what has been your favorite and least favorite moments of marriage?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Let me take this off the heat for a second while I think on that one. Some of my most favorite moments, I think, besides our wedding, obviously, I think my favorite moment would be when the day John found out he got into orthodontics. I remember we were going to find out that morning, like he knew he was going to get the email if he matched or not, and he had only gotten an interview at one place in Michigan because orthodontics is super competitive. His other interviews were all in other states. I had already started residency here in Michigan, so there's no way that I could go somewhere else with him for his orthodontics. So I remember us both being worried that we were potentially going to have a long distance relationship. And so that morning, he was in the shower, I was getting ready to leave for work, and I just happened to look at his phone just to see if he got the email yet. And I remember like seeing the email pop up and being like, oh my God, like, I don't know what to do. So I told him, and he got out of the shower like dripping wet all over the place, pulled up his phone, and he matched here in Michigan. Like, it was like a dream come true for both of us. His dreams were finally happening, and I just remember like that was a moment of pure happiness. Not only because like my husband's gonna be here with me, but because I was watching him live his dreams, and that was really awesome. We like hugged while he was like soaking wet, and I was already in my dress clothes because I was going to work, and it was just a really, really good moment. And I had also sent him, and pre-planned and sent him a gift to be delivered at his work. He was practicing as a general dentist at the time, and so I had set up a delivery to go there because I was confident that he would get accepted and match. I just didn't know where. So I was like waiting for the surprise to kick in that I had sent something to his work. So I thought that was a pretty great moment.
And your least favorite moment?
I mean, besides the fact that you always leave your dirty socks on the living room floor.
I don't know what you're talking about.
My least favorite moments have got to be some of the stuff we've been going through recently. With this infertility stuff, I think I've been not the nicest person, and I've been pretty depressed. And a lot of times it's been hard because he's not here. He's working away from home now. So I feel like some of my lows, he's not been able to be here for me physically or emotionally because he's not here. So he doesn't really get it. I think that's just been my least favorite moments, like going to these appointments alone, doing my injections alone, and feeling kind of alone. All right. What is your favorite moment and least favorite moment of marriage?
Well, since you already took my...
I already cut one.
Oh, 1 tables?
Yeah.
Oh, well, now we get 2.
Okay.
Since you already took my favorite moment, because that's my favorite moment of all time, I guess it would have to be just like the lazy Sundays that we get to spend with each other. We don't get a lot of those too often, so the days when we don't really have any commitments and there's not really anything to do, we just get to chill out and hang with each other and just spend time with each other. It's, you know, with as crazy as our lives get sometimes, that's just my favorite moments. And my least favorite would by far have to be this infertility stuff that we're going through. I mean, this is, nothing could have prepared me for what we're doing through all these procedures, all these steps, all the medications, how draining it is for you, how hard it is for me to be there for you even when I can't be there for you. And I mean, it's just crazy also just how little sex you get to have when you're trying to make a baby. Not that that is the end of the world, but it definitely has changed the relationship for sure.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too.
It's just different now, and it's not always going to be like this, but it's really tested us and our relationship and our commitments to each other, and it's not been easy, but I think it's still brought us closer together.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. Well, we're going to get back to making dinner.
Hello Fresh, whoop whoop.
And we will see you guys next time. So, again, if you have any other questions for us, you know, question and answer type stuff like we're doing today, please comment your questions below. It could be related to IVF or work or a relationship. Anything is fair game, and we will do a second video if you guys have enough questions for us. All right.
Peace.
Thanks for checking in.